Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an exciting and challenging journey, restoring an old, rusty saw back to its original glory. Starting with a tool that looks like it's past its prime, we'll go step by step through cleaning, repairing, and restoring it to full working condition. Join us as we explore how patience and skill can turn something seemingly useless into a remarkable piece once again. Alright, let's dive in and start disassembling this old saw, one part at a time, to bring it back to its former glory. This blade has seen some serious work, and over time, it's picked up its fair share of rust and wear. As we take it off, we'll check if it's salvageable or if it'll need a full replacement. If we can save it, we'll need to clean and sharpen it later to make sure it's ready for smooth, precise cuts. Once the blade is off, we'll shift our attention to the body of the saw. We'll carefully remove it from the body and check for any loose screws or cracks. Now that we've taken care of the blade, let's move on to the body of the saw. This part has quite a few components that need attention, starting with the pull cord mechanism, or the recoil starter. This is what gives the saw its initial power when you pull to start it, and over time, the cord can become worn, frayed, or even get stuck. We'll carefully remove it and inspect the spring and pulley system to make sure it's still operating smoothly and won't fail when we need it most. Next, we'll focus on the carburetor. This little guy plays a big role in the saw's performance by mixing air and fuel for combustion. If it's clogged or out of tune, the saw won't run properly. We'll need to take it apart, clean it thoroughly, and check the fuel lines for any blockages or cracks. We'll also check the air filter while we're at it, because a clogged air filter can choke the engine and make it harder to start. Inside the body, we'll also check the various cables and linkages that control the throttle and brake systems. These can get stiff or corroded over time, affecting the responsiveness of the saw. We'll carefully detach each part, clean, and lubricate them to ensure they move smoothly when we reassemble everything. Now that we've removed the outer parts and cleaned up the components, we're going to focus on the heart of the saw, the engine. This is where all the power is generated, so it's crucial that we give it the attention it deserves. We'll start by removing the engine cover, which will expose the internal parts. As we do this, we'll be checking for any obvious signs of damage, excessive wear, or buildup of grime. Removing the spark plug and ignition coil, the spark plug is next. Carefully unscrewing it, we make sure not to damage the threads. The ignition coil, responsible for sparking the fuel air mix, is also disconnected. Together, these are the starting spark of the engine, so we'll handle them gently and check them over for wear. Let's dive into carefully removing the carburetor, one of the most essential parts of this two-stroke engine. The carburetor is responsible for mixing fuel and air, creating the right combustion needed to power the saw, so handling it with care is important. Removing the carburetor from the intake manifold. With the bolts removed, the carburetor should be loose and ready to come off. We'll carefully pull it away from the intake manifold, watching for any gaskets that might still be attached. Next, we move on to an essential step in the engine disassembly, removing the crankshaft. To do this accurately and safely, we will be using a hydraulic press. This tool is extremely useful because it applies a strong yet controlled force to separate the crankshaft from the engine block without damaging surrounding components. Using a hydraulic press not only saves time, but also protects the crankshaft and bearings from excessive impact that could cause deformation. After disassembling the parts, the next step is to clean them thoroughly to ensure there is no dirt, grease, or rust left on them. For metal parts, we use a water-based solution mixed with a cleaning agent to remove light dirt and all residues. This helps protect the parts from wear and ensures they are in the best possible condition. For metal parts with stubborn stains or heavy rust, we use a sandblasting machine to clean them more effectively. The sandblasting machine works by shooting high speeds and particles, which helps quickly remove rust and dirt from the metal surface without damaging the underlying structure. For parts that are broken, cracked, or severely damaged, we need to recreate or repair them. This can be done by machining the damaged parts or completely fabricating new ones if they cannot be restored. Sometimes, certain parts can be remade using alternative materials to ensure durability and performance once reassembled. After we have fabricated or repaired the parts, the next step is to refine their surfaces for both functionality and aesthetic appeal. This involves carefully grinding and polishing each part to remove any rough edges, imperfections, or welding marks left over from the fabrication process. Once the parts have been properly smoothed out, we move on to the priming stage. It's important to apply the primer evenly and allow it to fully dry before moving on to the next step. Before applying the final coat of paint, we carefully inspect each part for dents, scratches, or uneven surfaces. Any imperfections are corrected by sanding or filling them, ensuring a smooth, flawless surface before proceeding with the paint. Only after these corrections do we proceed with the final paint application, ensuring that the parts are not only functional, but also look pristine and professional. The handle also needs to be restored to ensure it looks as good as new. We'll clean, smooth, and repaint it if necessary, making sure it's comfortable to grip and matches the overall aesthetic of the machine. The bar and chainsaw chain also undergo a thorough cleaning process. First, they are sandblasted to remove any rust, dirt, or debris that may have accumulated over time. Sandblasting helps to clean the surface efficiently without causing damage to the metal. Once the chainsaw chain has been cleaned, it is then soaked in an engine oil solution. This soaking process serves two important purposes. It helps to lubricate the chain, ensuring smooth and efficient operation when it is reassembled. And it also aids in removing any residual rust that may have been left behind after sandblasting. The spark plug, engine bolts, crankshaft, carburetor, and piston are all carefully smoothed and finished to ensure optimal performance. Each of these components is inspected closely for any imperfections, rough spots, or wear. Using precision tools, we carefully grind and polish the surfaces to remove any burrs or damage. This meticulous smoothing process ensures that each part fits perfectly, operates smoothly, and doesn't cause any friction or wear when reassembled. By making sure the surfaces are as smooth as possible, we not only improve the performance of these components, but also extend their lifespan, preventing potential issues that could arise from rough or uneven surfaces. The assembly process follows the reverse order of disassembly, and each step is crucial to ensuring the engine runs smoothly and efficiently. We begin with the crankshaft, carefully reinserting it into the engine block. It is essential to align the crankshaft properly with the bearings to ensure smooth rotation and prevent any friction or wear. Once aligned, the crankshaft is secured firmly in place. Next, we move on to the flywheel. The flywheel is placed on the crankshaft and tightened securely. It plays an important role in stabilizing the engine's rotation, so it is vital to ensure it is properly positioned and bolted down without any wobble. A correctly installed flywheel helps maintain the engine's momentum and keeps it running smoothly. After the flywheel is secured, we focus on the piston. The piston must be installed with great care, as this is one of the most critical components of the engine. When installing the piston, it's important to first ensure that the piston rings are properly fitted. These rings help create a tight seal to prevent combustion gases from leaking out and maintaining compression inside the cylinder. The piston is then inserted into the cylinder, making sure that it moves smoothly within the bore without any resistance or misalignment. Once the piston is in place, we proceed with the installation of the throttle butterfly valve. The throttle valve controls the flow of air into the carburetor, which in turn regulates the engine's power output. We then move on to the flywheel and carburetor, making sure that both are securely connected and properly aligned with the engine. The carburetor is a critical component that mixes fuel and air in the correct ratio before it enters the engine for combustion. It must be mounted securely onto the engine block, ensuring that all mounting bolts and connections are tightened correctly to avoid any air or fuel leaks. The carburetor must also be aligned with the intake manifold to ensure the fuel and air mixture is delivered evenly to the cylinder. Proper alignment of the carburetor is essential to maintaining optimal engine performance, as an improper mixture can lead to poor combustion, reduced power, and increased fuel consumption. This needs to be properly installed and calibrated for the engine to start and run smoothly, especially in varying temperature conditions. The spark plug is the next component to be installed. It is crucial to tighten the spark plug securely into the cylinder head, ensuring that it is positioned correctly to ignite the air-fuel mixture at the right time for efficient combustion. Before finishing, we pay attention to small details, such as ensuring the throttle cable moves freely and the fuel lines are secure with no leaks. Finally, we move to the bar and chainsaw chain. The bar is carefully installed, ensuring it is properly aligned with the chain guide and that there is no misalignment. The chainsaw chain is then placed onto the bar and the tension is adjusted so that it runs smoothly around the sprocket. Roper chain tension is crucial for efficient cutting performance and safety, so we make sure it's neither too tight nor too loose. One crucial component that cannot be overlooked is the engine pull cord. Now that the assembly is complete, the next step is to prepare the chainsaw for its first test run. We start by lubricating the chain with chain oil, ensuring it runs smoothly and is well protected during operation. Then, since the engine is a two-stroke, we mix the fuel with the appropriate ratio of oil to ensure proper lubrication and performance. Once the fuel is prepared, we fill the tank and double-check all connections to make sure everything is in place. Finally, we pull the starter cord to fire up the engine and begin testing the chainsaw.